Hello and welcome. I am Lanre Lasisi and this is the Gavel, where we focus on the National Assembly and some of the decisions being taken by federal lawmakers. And we will be looking at some of the developments that occurred this week. The National Assembly was to have resumed, but that has been moved till next week. In anticipation of their return, I had a chat with the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udo Udoma. He starts by outlining how much work has been done on the 2018 Appropriation Bill.
We've done a lot of work. If you recall, after the last budget, we had meetings with the National Assembly, and we indicated that we wanted to get back to the January to December budget cycle. And in order to achieve that, the National Assembly made it clear that we have to get them the budget by October to give them enough time to be able to work on it. So we have been working flat out on the budget, and we believe we'll get it to them in October.
Okay, now one issue that has always been a sore point between the legislature and the executive has always been the issue of the budget. Before it comes, after it comes, when it's signed, debates and all that. Now, what have you done, or what are you doing to try and make sure we have less of such?
Well, you know, the budget is a very important law. It basically sets out the spending priorities of the government. So it's something that everybody is interested in. So there will always be some issues. And so people shouldn't think that you can ever have a budget without any issues. It's not possible. But what we try to do is, by engaging early with the National Assembly, reduce the issues and reduce the possible contentions. And so even though we have gone very far in the budget, we intend, when the National Assembly comes back next week, to meet with the leadership and to meet with the relevant thing to discuss the budget, to indicate to them the sort of framework that we have in mind before actually submitting the budget to them.
Okay, can I ask what of the medium-term expenditure framework, how much work has
Yes, that is also ready. But as you know, the National Assembly has been on vacation. Yeah. So we can't start engaging with them on but with that one, at the time we were consulting the public, we also consulted the National Assembly. We met with the relevant, with some members of the leadership, and we took on board some of their suggestions in terms of the MTEF. So when they come back, when they resume, we will submit the MTEF, but we'll also discuss with them and explain the MTEF even as we're submitting it to them.
Okay, now that shouldn't be much, because it's basically a review of the...
Yes, and because we have an economic recovery and growth plan, and the MTEF is drawn from the economic recovery and growth plan, and we consulted the National Assembly in developing the economic recovery and growth plan. So the areas of differences are narrowing and narrowing. So I think this year should be a smoother process in terms of the MTEF. Okay.
I would like to take you up on the environment. There was a request by the Vice President in July. After the disagreement, or we say some of the issues that came up during the signing of the 2017 budget, there was a request. Now, that request has not been...
After this was submitted, I did engage with the leadership. We were hoping that they would have time to look at the environment before they went on recess, but they didn't have time to look at it. So I'm sure that when they come back, they will look at the environment request.
I remember that it was the acting president at that time made it clear it was urgent. Yes. How has that affected, some of those projects and the plans you had?
Well, luckily, the budget only started running in June. And so we are able to release funds for projects not affected by the environment. The environment didn't affect the whole budget, only some projects.
Okay. I would like to understand from you, as you're working now, you're hoping to get this issue ready. The National Assembly has a large role to play in this. Now, this part you're talking about, you're going to wait. Are you also going to take this into consideration? That has the environment part. Are you taking it into consideration as you're preparing the 2018 budget?
Yes, we have contingencies. So when we meet with the National Assembly, when they come back, when we meet with them before we finalize. Okay. So we will meet with them first.
Okay, let me take you up on the issue of your own self now. You're a past legislator. Yes. You've served in the Senate. You're now serving in the executive. How would you say it's been?
Well, it has been, because I was in the legislature, it's actually been very helpful for me. Usually well received. My former colleagues, they always treat me very, very well. And it has helped to minimize some of the issues that we have had. In the 2017 budget, the processes were better than the 2016. And I believe that 2018 it will be even better than the 2017. But you cannot be without any issues. It can't be. Because when you have a situation, you have over 300 members of the House, 100 and something members of the Senate, representing different constituencies with different priorities, and you have very limited funds. That is really the issue. If we had unlimited funds, we wouldn't have any problem. But particularly at this time, when funds are very, very limited, you have to make a selection between different competing demands, some of which, all of which may have a good case, but ultimately they can't all get funding. So that process is a process that has to, in the end, you will have a little bit of friction, a little bit of this thing in arriving at a consensus. But I believe that working with them, we will reduce those areas and try to make sure that each budget is better than the one before.